Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's JD. It's always
Yeah.
JD. It's always Michelle.
Always. Every time.
It is not
Every
always
single
time for my
time.
cat to play with her jingly ball as hard as possible, but she apparently
Of
just
course
decided that's a
it
good thing.
is.
She's not. Oh, okay. Well, you
Michelle,
might hear
the time-
jingles.
The time for your cat to play with your its jingly balls is whenever it damn well pleases.
Well, I know. That's why I'm not stopping her. But if you guys hear bells, it's not just me over here like going crazy. It's
Hey,
it's my
Michelle.
cat. Yeah.
So everybody knows we're here to talk about 28 Days Later because it's right there in the title of the episode. You want to just dive into the therapy portion of this episode just right off the get-go?
I have so much therapeutic stuff. Yeah, go for it.
So I went to see my new psychiatrist for the second time today, or yesterday. And we were getting together because now my new psychiatrist is a resident, right? They've been through school, but they got to do a period of residency before they're fully confirmed. And so she was upfront about the fact that while she had some confidence in diagnosis, it was very likely that we might have to get a more specialized opinion, I guess is the way I would say it. But anyway, the only reason I bring is confirmed that, yeah, I probably do have like ADHD or some kind of ASD or some blend of the two. We're going to go see somebody and get a little bit more thorough examination. The only reason I bring it up, you're going to love this. One of the questions they asked me when she was going through the evaluation was, do you find that you interrupt and talk over people a lot? I was like, who, me? Nah, that's not like me at all. No way. And it was like, do people ever act like you're not listening and you're just waiting for your turn to talk? And I'm like, yes, I am just waiting for my turn. I am waiting for my turn to talk. I'm not just waiting for my turn to talk. But
If you want, I can compile just a bunch of audio clips from the show that you can bring to her
No.
and just be like, listen to this
No.
compilation of times that you
God,
interrupted
don't.
me. And
Like
then I
right there?
continued to, yeah, and then I continued talking because I went, I'm not going to let you talk over me. And then you just kept talking until I gave up. You're going to be a different person on medication. You're not going to be JD
Oh,
anymore.
no. So that was the whole thing, is because, as I've talked about before, I have had some bad experiences with certain types of especially stimulant substances. I actually told him that, because she said, she was like, based on everything we've talked about today and my diagnostic information, I'm pretty confident saying that, yeah, it's very likely there's some of that going. So I would feel comfortable writing a prescription if that's something you want to do. And I actually suggested, I think I'd rather go talk to somebody with a little bit more specialized experience, as you suggested. And so she gave me some references to some people that I could try to check with. I'm on the waiting list for their psychology and behavioral sort of therapy department, but that's still a waiting list situation. And if I can get in to see somebody else sooner, then dope. But no, it was the funniest goddamn thing. I was just like, oh my God, you have got to be kidding me. Yeah, that's like I have been known my entire life as the interrupter.
Or the
it
just
was-
waiting to talk person.
Yeah,
Because I can
yeah.
see in your eyes when I'm talking and you just start zoning out because you heard me
oh.
say something.
I got
and then
I
you're
gotta
just
try and
waiting.
remember it.
Exactly.
But I want to be clear, in those times, I am still listening. I get weird because I have to, because I'm not good at multitasking. Surprise, that's one of my issues. Unless I can do weird multitasking things when it doesn't seem like multitasking, right? Like driving a car. Like there's a lot of different elements to driving a car, but anyway, this is things we talked about, and I just wanted to bring it up because it was so goddamn funny. Like every question she was asking me is like, do you, like, tell me about what happens in these situations, and you know, what kind of things put you in sort of a heightened mood, and it's every little thing. It was just like, oh yeah, that's me for sure. Definitely. Yep.
My last therapy session this week, not a whole lot going on where I was like, I have massive issues and I'm crying this week. Apparently no crying, but it did devolve into yet another session where I just recommend movies and books to her. I feel like that's how I get into so many of my topics is I'll be like, oh my God, so I watched this movie. You definitely have to see it. It was directed by this person. It came out here and I liked it because I also have mommy issues. And so this character, I could really relate to her. And oh yeah, I was physically abused as a child. Yeah, definitely. Just like this. I feel like I explain so much about myself. Speaking of Sasha Sagan's book, For Creatures Small as We, For Such Creatures Small as We, something like that, highly recommended. We're going to get into it in Michelle in Review, but I've been thinking about magic lately.
Oh, just like what kind of magic?
It's so Sasha Sagan is Carl Sagan's daughter.
Okay.
And she wrote a book about essentially like, despite being a scientific person raised non-religious, how you can still experience magic and find the beauty in things and find rituals that are kind of like, she's like, you know, these are religious practices, but at the same time, they're just ritualistic things that help me feel connected to other people. And it's a beautiful way of looking at life. And I've just been absorbing her book.
Can I ask you a question about everything you just said there?
Yeah.
Who is Carl Sagan?
The science guy.
Who?
The science guy. He's one of those
that's
people
Bill
I just
Nye.
know. No.
The science guy? Michelle, Bill Nye the science guy.
Well, yes,
it's
I know
in his
that.
name.
According to Google, because I just know
I know
who he
who
is.
Carl Sagan is.
Okay, I was like, how the fuck do I know Carl Sagan and you don't? I was about to have a meltdown.
Yeah, I know
Oh my
all
God.
about
Okay.
Pale Blue Dot and all that shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
Carl.
his daughter.
I knew
Sasha.
Carl. He was a good guy.
Yeah, his daughter's pretty cool too. Okay.
The
Anyway,
demon-haunted world.
28 days later, after we started recording, should we get into her?
Yeah, we should probably talk about, because, you know, these, like, movies that it's like, oh, you really need to see this, and that's how this happened. Because we were taught, somehow this movie came up in a discussion, and I mentioned that I've never actually seen it beyond about the first, as it turns out, it was about the first 8 minutes, not the first 20 minutes.
Yep.
And Michelle was like, well, I can't be friends with you or keep doing this podcast until you remedy that. And so we remedied that 28 days later.
Yep. Okay.
Not to
IMDb
be
description.
confused with 28 Days, that Sandra Bullock movie
Yeah. I
about
was
going
also
to
going to make
treatment.
that joke. Yeah, hilarious. We're so funny. and
Oh,
clever.
we're so funny.
Okay, 28 days later, the IMDb description. 4 weeks after a mysterious, incurable virus spreads throughout the United Kingdom, a handful of survivors try to find sanctuary. 28 days later, 2002, rated R, an hour and 53 minutes. JD,
Yes.
I have no idea how you feel about this movie, and I need to know. Please hit me with your spoiler-free thoughts.
It's all right.
Succinct.
No, it's a good movie. It's I mean, it's 2 hours long, and it probably didn't have to be. What I do find interesting about it is how immediately I was like, oh, so The Walking Dead was just like, what if 28 days later, but it's like 85 episodes of a TV show?
Don't
And
get me started.
I
Yep.
was like, oh, well, if those are my options, I'll take the 2 hour version every time. It's obviously it's really well made. This is how I learned that apparently I've only now seen 2 Danny Boyle movies, and the other one is Trainspotting. But it's not 100% my kind of vibe. I thought it was very effective for what it was trying to do. I think there's one thing I want to talk about when we get into the spoilers section where I still haven't decided if it works for me or not. You probably already know what I'm talking about because it's so very specific, and I'm just like, I don't know.
I have some guesses.
Okay.
But there are a couple things I thought you'd feel iffy about. I'm glad to hear that you don't hate it. So that's
no,
good.
it's a good movie. It's really well made. I thought we're gonna, because you and I have had the argument, even though I never saw the movie, about zombie movie versus rage virus.
Oh, I have a very good counter argument because you're wrong.
But I feel like that distinction is actually crucial to the story of this movie.
Yes, I did research. There's a phrase for it that we'll get into but it's totally a thing. I don't need to do it right now, but yes, we had a thing where you were mocking me and saying they're not zombies, but they are zombies. They're a specific type. There's a whole thing. There's a debate. I read a lot of stuff.
I mean, it's right in the movie that it's an infection. But,
yep, we'll get into it. I refuse to go down this rabbit hole right now.
my point is that anything anybody has said outside the movie is meaningless.
I'm not responding. I'm waiting. I would still love to hear your rating, give my rating, and then get into it because I have so much documentation.
I don't care about your documentation. Anyway, 4 skulls.
Okay. Holy shit! I did not expect it to be that high.
Oh, it's a good movie.
It is a good fucking movie. It's my favorite.
Oh, what
Christmas
I was gonna
movie.
say, really effective use of limited special effects as well.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would like to know where the $8 million budget went in this movie, but that's a whole thing. Go ahead, Michelle. Tell me your spoiler-free thoughts, as if I don't already know.
The $8 billion or $8 million? $8 billion. How much money?
No, it was not an $8 billion budget.
I was like,
Michelle,
I don't think
holy
it's that high.
shit.
The $8 million budget went towards the one of the scenes at the end where there's a lot of combat in the rain, and half of those scenes, the rain is CGI because they couldn't have positioned the camera to get the angle that they wanted without adding CGI effects, and that's where all the budget went. I'm pretty sure.
Michelle, this is a spoiler-free section. You just told people what happens at the end.
I told them that there's rain at the end.
and
that there's
a lot of action sequences.
It's a zombie. Stuff. I did not say anything about the military.
It's not a zombie movie.
I did not say a word about the military. I said combat. Anyway.
So go ahead, say 5 skulls and let's get into it.
Yeah, it's a 5-skull movie. You'll hear why. I don't even know when I first saw this movie. I just know that my high school sweetheart and I love this fucking movie, and we watched it all the time. And Will, if you're out there, I'm sorry about how much of a psycho I was as a teenager. I've gotten therapy and medication, and I'm doing better, and you deserve better, and you were great. And thank you for introducing me to 28 Days Later. This is a great fucking movie. I love it. I think at its core, what I really love is, on top of just all this stuff being high quality, everything, like well told and well directed and well acted. I love a zombie movie or end of world movie where the zombies are a problem, but they're not the main problem. Other living human beings are. And that's what this one boils down to as well. I think that's why I like zombies so much, because zombies are a problem, but they're never the biggest threat in these kinds of things. What we do to each other becomes a bigger threat. So 20 Days Later, 5-skull movie. I fucking love this movie. It's very high on my list of favorite movies of all time.
There you go. 5 skulls, 4 skulls. It's 4.5 average. It's definitely higher than Michelle was expecting.
Absolutely. I did not expect you to like it that much.
I am going to talk in detail about the things that I really, really do like about this movie. But all All right, so spoilers section is where we're going, guys. If you haven't seen it after 20 odd years and you still don't want anything spoiled for you, make sure you come back when you're done, but you're going to want to pause and go watch the movie. And of course, as always, we start with, I'm really expecting some quality here, to be totally honest, when you're telling me this is one of your favorite movies and also it's 20 years old. Michelle, please tell us what happens in 28 Days Later.
Well, now I'm really mad at you for reminding me that this movie is 20 plus years old. That is so upsetting. But yes, 28 Days Later. So, oh God, where do we start? We begin where all things should begin, where people who were mean to animals get their comeuppance. And I love that. That immediately Five Skull movie where these people are being real mean to monkeys. And then the monkeys are like, fuck you, bitch, we're taking you out. And I love that. That's a great start to a movie. So basically scientists were doing experiments on monkeys and they were infecting them with rage. And these animal activists show up and they're like, bitch, you can't do that to monkeys. And the scientist is like, no, you don't, you need to listen. The monkeys, they're infected. And then the girl's like, but they're cute. And then she tries to hug one and it tries to kill her. And that's exactly how I plan on going out. That is on my list of ways to take me out, me trying to hug an animal that I should not. And then she turns into a zombie, and I will keep saying the word zombie because we're going to have that argument about this later on. But if they're not zombies, then I have a whole list of work that you also disagree are zombies and it's wrong. Okay, so then we cut to 28 days later. And Jim, aka Cillian Murphy, he wakes up in the hospital and he's like, yo, what the fuck? I mean, he doesn't say that, but he definitely thinks it because the hospital is empty. One thing, after watching this movie so many times, there's lots of tiny things that I pick up on. And he wakes up in the hospital completely naked in this bed. And I'm just wondering, like, did they just leave him like that? Nobody put him in a hospital gown. Nobody put him in a blanket. Did he toss and turn and throw all his covers off? It's a thing I thought a lot about because it's like, why was he completely nude in the hospital bed? Like, were the nurses mid-changing him? And then, yes, JD?
I'm sorry, I can't help it. You said you start to notice little details, and I was going to be like, that's a mean thing to say about Cillian Murphy's dick.
Horrible.
Shout out to that guy, by the way, for just having a plain old normal dick and just be like, no, I'm just gonna be naked, you know.
We definitely need more dicks in movies.
It's not like what's that guy? The Yahya Mateen. I don't know his full name, but he played Dr. Manhattan in the Watcher TV series. Yes. He shows up naked. I mean, that fella hangs dong, right? So, I mean, that's probably not the way people would like you to say it. What the fuck did I just say?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
So anyway, resuming in the hospital.
So anyway, shout out Cillian Murphy for your normal dick.
That's also who wants to. Oh man, that's a very average dick. It's like also kind of a like mean thing to say to a person because most people are gonna be like, oh, just average. Anyway, okay. So, God, now all I'm thinking about is some very funny sex stuff that I cannot get into right now. Okay. So, Cillian Murphy, he wakes up. His name in this movie is Jim. And he's like, where is everybody? And nobody's in the hospital. And so he starts just wandering around London. And I have a lot of information about how so much of this stuff was filmed and special facts and things like that. But he's just wandering around in empty London and he's seeing all of these posters of missing people, and he goes to a church and then he sees a bunch of people down in the bottom of the church. So he says, hey, or hello or something, and all these fuckers pop up real fast and stare at him, and he goes, that's not good. I don't know what's happening yet, but I know that is a bad thing. And then he turns to the side and a fucking zombie priest comes like like out at him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Father. I sinned. Oh shit, I fucked up. Please tell God I'm sorry." And then he gets away from the priest. And then he's running away. Blah blah blah. At some point, Selena and Mark show up to help him, and they drag him into what was it, like an airport terminal, a mall, something like that. I can picture it, but I don't know what it was exactly. And then Mark yells a giraffe joke at Jim, and then goes, "Oh, this one has no humor." And that's very funny, and I did not appreciate how funny that whole giraffe bit was when I was much younger, but it is very good. And then Selena's like, "I never smile," and Jim's like, "Oh, that's cool." And then they go to Jim's parents' place, and one of the saddest fucking parts from this movie, there are several, but Jim gets there and finds his parents asleep together. They have committed suicide, and they wrote him a note, something along the lines of, "You were sleeping, so we left you sleeping. Please don't wake up," or something like that. And, oh my God. And then they're hanging out at Jim's place. I was gonna say his parents are out of town, because that's kind of true. So
they are as out of town as you could be.
Yeah, exactly. They left their bodies behind. They forgot to pack those. But then they are hanging out, and oh shit, zombie busts through the window, and Selena kills it because she's fucking cool. And then Mark has been bitten, and he's like, "Oh no," and Selena fucking machetes him a lot, and it's great. So now it's Selena and Jim, and they are wandering, trying to find other people, and they look up in the sky, and they see an apartment with Christmas lights on the balcony, and that is how I can confirm that this is a Christmas movie. I watch it every Christmas. It's a Christmas movie. The Christmas lights are crucial to the telling of this story. I don't care that it's not actually Christmas. Fuck you. Love this movie. So they are trying to do all the stairs to get to the top of the apartment, and then one of the parts that bothers me is they hear something down below, and Selena very loudly yells, "Quiet! It's the infected!" And she yells it down the stairwell, and it pisses me off every time, and it grates on my nerves, because I'm like, Selena, you fucking idiot, you're so cool, what the fuck are you doing? So now they're getting chased by zombies, and they run up to the top, and then Brendan Gleeson is at the top, and he's like, "Get in, my daughter Hannah, she's played by Megan Burns, who has done almost nothing else since this movie, she's in there too, so come join us." So now we've got Cillian Murphy, and he's gonna put the kill in Killian later in this movie. Haha. We've got Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris playing Selena, Brendan Gleeson playing Frank, and Megan Burns playing Hannah. And they are all in an apartment. They go over this radio signal that is saying, like, "Come find us. We have army and food and good stuff and all the DVDs for the show that you were afraid you'd never be able to see again. We have all of the volumes of Friends. You will never get tired of. We have a whole collection. We have an Xbox 360, which I think came out by 2002. And oh my God, just come. It's going to be great." And everybody's like, "Okay, sweet. We're going to go there." They adventure out. Some stuff happens, but most importantly, they get to where the army is supposed to be, and there is no army. And Brendan Gleeson has a little bit of a meltdown, aka Frank, and he gets very mad at a crow cawing at him, which understandable. Like, crows are cool, but like, come on, dude, that's really mean to just be mocking him. And he shakes the structure, whatever, to scare the crow. And with that little act, a drop of blood from one of the corpses lands in his eye. And he knows immediately he is infected. And his daughter Hannah comes walking over, and he starts yelling at her to get away because he starts turning. He's a twitching and he's a hissing, and Jim does not have it in him to kill him. But he doesn't have to because the army shows up. Oh shit, they're there now. So they make Frank go dead. So Frank is also out of town for a while. So then the army, they're like, "Hey, come hang out with us," which... I don't know if I'd want to do that, but yeah, sure. I heard that you guys have all the volumes of Friends. I've never seen it. I'd watch it. So they all go to the mansion, and it is typical military style machismo, whatever, masculine energy happening there. They just exactly what you would expect. The thing that you would not expect is that one of their own turned a couple days ago, so they have leashed him up so that they can study him. Also, Major Henry West is played by Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor. Doctor Who, Exactly. He's also from Thor: The Dark World, and most importantly, The Borrowers, a movie I fucking loved and did not know until today that Klaus from the Umbrella Academy was the boy I had a crush on from The Borrowers, and that's really cool. Oh yes, JD.
I would like to point out that Christopher Eccleston was also the Invisible Man in Heroes,
Which I also never saw.
The first season.
Oh, I know. I have heard.
Fucking fantastic.
And then they
so
ruined it.
good, and then it just completely went to shit.
Oh. Yeah, you are one of many. Watching Aaron watch the season premiere of season 2 and then just turning to me sadly is a thing I will have in my head forever. Because I was not paying attention, but he just went, "Oh," because he expected season 1 and it did not give that to him.
No, it really
okay,
didn't.
so all the military guys, no, that's okay. Then Cillian Murphy learns that Christopher Eccleston, aka Major Henry West, has promised his men women. He said, "Don't worry, you have something to live for because we will get you some bitches." And Jim, he does not like that. He's not on board with, Selena and Hannah essentially being force bred, which is also an insane plan because, like, 2 women show up at your camp and you're not even going to like see if they become a partner with somebody before you're just like, "No, we're going to force rape you." All of that is not stated, but I've had a lot of time to think about this and it's insane. It's like Major Henry West knows that none of these guys are fuckable and that they're incels, so this is the only way. But if he's also wanting to like repopulate the planet, Jim and Selena have some chemistry. It is palpable. He could have just waited for them to make a cute baby. Like, it's a fucked up plan, but that's just the type of thinking that we have to deal with, and that's why the second half of this works so well for me, because I fucking hate the military guys, and I love what happens to them. So what does happen is they take Jim and then the other guy who was military and was like, "You guys suck," and they're like, "We gotta kill you," and they take them out to kill them, but Jim gets away, and now he's shirtless and he's fighting the military guys, and this is the whole rain sequence, and it's cool because I can tell you exactly which scenes are CGI because they had to do the camera at this angle and which ones aren't. I am such a nerd for this movie. And so Jim kills a bunch of them, and then Christopher Eccleston, he finds out like all his people are dead. He's mad. Jim makes it back to the mansion. He lets the military zombie guy free, and that guy looks shocked to be free. I think the zombie, whose name I have forgotten, but that zombie guy running around killing all the other military guys is so fucking funny. Like, I don't know if he's supposed to be, but like the looks he gives of like, "Huh? Like when he gets free." And I know there are some other deliberately funny parts where like the guy comes in and he's just standing there and you see the guy go screaming with this zombie chasing after him. It's such a fantastic sequence. Cillian, he goes to save Selena, and he does the most gruesome thing in this movie that is all about death and carnage and is based on terrible conflict that has happened in third world countries and the Ebola virus. Like all these gruesome things. The most gruesome thing to happen in this movie is Cillian Murphy squeezing a guy's eyes out with his thumbs because he's so mad. And Selena's like, "Oh shit, he got the rage virus," and he turns around and she goes to machete and doesn't. And he goes, "You hesitated," or something like that. And now they're making out. And then Hannah shows up and she hits Jim over the head. And she goes, "I thought he was biting you." And Jim says, "I was kissing her. Are you stoned?" Because yes, Hannah is stoned. And that's a whole thing that I didn't even get into. But they go to flee the mansion. And when they open the door, Christopher Eccleston is in the back seat, and he's like, "You killed my men," and then he kills Jim, so we think, or he tries to. And so Hannah's like, "Bitch," and she backs up the car as fast as she can. Christopher Eccleston is sitting in the back seat, and the zombie just reaches through the window, grabs him out of the car, and she drives forward and leaves him there. So fucking good. And then now Hannah and Selena try to save Jim, and this is where we have, I think, 3 alternate endings. The one that they went with is my favorite one, but we see a lot of shots at a hospital, and is he gang saved? And then we see him wake up. It's similar to the scene when he wakes up in the hospital, except now he is in a house. And oh no, she's taken the curtains now. And he goes down and he sees Selena just sewing away. And it's because they are making a sign or out of sheets of a hello, so that when the pilot goes by who has been circling, when they go by, they will see the sign and know that there are survivors. And right before all of this happens, or right after, at some point, we see zombies just laying on the road, dying of starvation 28 days later. So technically 56 days later, but 28 days later after Jim woke up. And really, that's all that matters. 20 days later.
28 days later. Yeah, it's look, we could talk about the zombie thing at some point. That is really, I mean, it's fun to joke about, but it's really,
it's the most hurtful thing you've ever said to me.
Oh, give me a fucking break. I've said so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to start right up at the beginning. Like, I do obviously agree with you. Like, a big portion of that opening was the evil of, and, you know, in a broader sense, also just unethical science, right? But, you know, through the lens of specifically, like, animal testing. But I feel like that opening scene is also by the other direction, somewhat critical of, like, extremist reactionaries of, like, yeah, if these guys are doing terrible things, we might want to be careful about how we allow those terrible things out into the world.
Absolutely.
You know? And so I like there is that sort of dichotomy there, that it's a combination of those two things that ultimately causes the problem. This is a real fucking pretentious thing to say, but this feels to me like the most accurate of how this might go down, right? Like, it's a very thought-provoking variation of these tropes. So I enjoy that element there. First of all, when we talked a while back about another movie, I won't say what it is, but it's a movie about slowly losing your senses, you know, your hearing, and then your sense of touch and your sense of smell, until you're completely disconnected from the world, and how that is one of my most terrifying concepts I've ever come across. I've also talked about how I'm absolutely terrified about the idea of just floating off into deep space, or floating down to the bottom of the ocean, or something like that. This, where you're just out and about in your life, and just you're in an accident, and then the next thing you know, you wake up and the world is fucking desolate and it's a disaster. What a fucking, regardless of where it goes from there, that would fuck me up so bad. I wouldn't even be able to go out and wander around the way this guy does. I would fucking completely collapse.
I would be so happy. So many books I could read. And if there's no people, they won't make more movies, and then I can get caught up on my list.
Yeah, it just real sort of heavy. I really appreciate the elements involving the family, and the way they bring that in the story. Man, Brendan Gleeson appeared on screen, and I was just like, oh, what a welcome. I love Brendan Gleeson. I didn't even know he was in this movie.
Yep.
And so that was super cool. Look, I mentioned there was a thing that I'm still not sure if it works for me or not. And that's that moment where the single drop of blood falls from that corpse and just happens to strike him right in the eye. There's a part of me that immediately, my gut-wrench reaction to it was, oh, give me a fucking break. But at the same time, like, the storyteller in me is like, that's kind of poetic and just like actually kind of brilliant in a lot of it. So it's whatever it is, it's I imagine it's at least I would imagine something that people have gone back and forth over. Do you know, Michelle, with as much as you're into this movie, whether that's something that's been an issue for people?
I don't know, because everybody I have talked to about this movie has just loved that part, self included, because it is such a like, what are the fucking chances kind of thing. It is an astronomically small possibility. And that's why it works for me, and it gets such an emotional reaction. And I got so upset because we love Frank. We are halfway into this movie. Jim has just called him dad. Like, he's just this cool guy who's like kind of funny and has this great relationship with his daughter. And they are all that the two have left. And then one tiny thing goes wrong and ruins everything in an instant.
Yeah, it's just I mean, don't get me wrong, even if it doesn't it's just, I had that gut reaction to it of just,
that's fair.
I think for me personally, you could have accomplished the same thing and it would have been a little bit less of that reaction for me if it just wasn't a single drop, right? Like maybe the bird flies away and it's like a splurt of blood that comes down and smacks him on the side of the face, including in his eye and maybe in his mouth. I think that
I prefer
alone,
the tiny drop because it is such
because
a
of the,
tiny chance.
because of the implications. No, I understand. It's that's why I'm saying, just for me, I think it would have worked better that way. You also mentioned the scene where Selena machetes Mark and how fucking brutal that is. And it is, but it's brutal in like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre way.
Yes.
Right? Because you don't actually see anything. And this movie is really great about that. Really genius. What are the things you see the most? You see a lot of blood. And blood is the easiest fucking special effect in the world. It's cheap. It's easy to do. And they use a lot of it. And they use it to great effect. In addition to their sound design.
Yes.
The sound design combined with the splatter in this, there are very few like real close-up wounds. The big moments of things they use very sparingly. But I really appreciated that. Also, one thing that I do want to say is I feel like that's a big part of why this isn't traditional zombie, right? This is rage virus. Because here's one thing you never see in this movie. You never see any of them eat somebody. It doesn't happen. They kill them. They maybe rip them apart. But as soon as they're dead, they stop and go away. And to me, that's that's part of because then we don't have to do gut special effects and bodies being ripped apart and that level of thing, right? But also I'll get back to more of that in a little while, but just a few more things before I turn it over to you to tell us all about why you love this movie. You talked a little bit there also about the, if they're going to repopulate, why don't they just let Jim and Selena do it, or just at least see? I guess my angle on that is I think the whole repopulation thing is a bullshit cover story that he tells himself and tells other people because he can't deal with the fact that he promised these people women that they could fuck. Like that's the impression I got from it, because it's very clear when these guys the one of them mentions repopulation, but it's the kind of naive, innocent one, I think, who was also cooking in the kitchen, or something. Yeah, so it's like,
in my heart I know that, but just as this is the plan you're telling us, that's a terrible plan. I know they just wanted to rape them, and that's gross.
And that is the heaviest part of this, in a certain way. And like the one place where this movie just fucking got me is that sequence where Selena and Hannah are getting dressed, and she gets the guys to leave the room.
Yeah.
And she starts giving her the pills, and Hannah asks her, "Are you trying to kill me?" And she says, "No, I'm just trying to make you not care."
Yep. That's one of my favorite quotes from the entire movie.
That is it just fucking came like a haymaker out of left field and just fucking sideswiped me. Holy shit.
Yep.
That is fucking heavy. Yeah, just some really solid stuff there. I did enjoy a lot of the character. In fact, if this had been a movie where a lot of the, because like you said, and this is why I was like, oh shit, so Walking Dead just took this story and turned it into way more than it ever fucking needed to be, right? And because you almost don't need any of the action sequences in this to get the story, right? I feel like this is a movie where the bits with the actual infected zombies, whatever you want to call them, I feel like those are the places where you could have trimmed this movie down and it still would have been just as successful for me. Right? And that's interesting because as a general rule, I never, especially in zombie movies, I'm just like, oh, great. Another zombie movie where it's all about how, oh, the real bad is people. Are you fucking kidding me? That's day one Night of the Living Dead shit. Right?
That's just human nature shit.
Right. But this, in some way, it managed to make me, most of the time I'm just like, just give me this fucking zombies killing people. I don't care about, I don't need, look, I get it. Give me fucking broadly painted, obvious archetypes. And I actually really enjoyed, on a level that I don't typically enjoy, the character work and that whole side of this. Probably because you do have Cillian Murphy and you have Brendan Gleeson and you have Naomi, I forget her last name, Naomi Harris. Incredible performances, really, really well done. It just overall, first of all, this sort of stuff is not always my vibe. It's, like I said, it's too goddamn long. But overall, yeah, I'm glad I did finally get around to seeing it. One of the things that's a big problem for me is it uses a lot of that early 2000s high shutter speed, sort of off-kilter shutter angle kind of vibe, and it that's just a thing for me that personally is... Irritating is not the right word because it comes with all sorts of psychological connotations, but it hurts my eyes to watch it for a long time. And so that's off-putting for me. But no, overall, this was a real enjoyable experience. I'm glad I finally got to see it.
Sweet. I have so many things.
Have at it, Michelle.
I'm just going to go in the order that they're written on my Google Doc.
Yeah.
Because, and that's, I'm saying that just because the very first thing is zombies. But I wanted to bring it up because I thought this was so interesting. So you've been giving me shit about these aren't zombies, they're rage virus. And I actually went down a rabbit hole because this is a discussion other people have had. And it's because the old school thought is Dawn of the Dead, they die, they come back, they're reanimated. The more modern version of a zombie is actually called a living zombie. It's not required that they die. And some of the movies that I came across with examples was like The Crazies, Train to Busan, The Last of Us. None of those require the people to die. Yes, JD.
So just because somebody else wrote a story where that's a thing that happens, that means that has to be what happens in every story ever written by anybody?
No.
So what I'm saying is those might be living zombies in those movies. That doesn't mean they're living zombies in this movie.
I'm still. Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. No.
Also, did any of the people who have proposed these theories write this movie?
Oh my God. No.
No, I don't care.
They can be infected and they can be zombies. They never say they're not zombies.
They never say they are zombies either.
No, that's
fine. If they
fine.
were zombies, they would say they were zombies. You know what they call them all the time?
The infected.
Infected.
Yes. That doesn't make them not zombies, because a zombie is just any sort of virus or anything like a cordyceps situation where they can just take over your body. To me. And you know what? Fuck you. That's why. These are zombies. These are my favorite zombies.
They're not zombies.
I think more of a rage virus is the sadness. The sadness is rage.
It's definitely playing with every zombie trope in the book, right?
Except for eating, which I did not realize, but I do think in 28 Weeks Later they remedy that. I'm pretty sure people get eaten.
I do want to point out, though, that to me, I think the crucial element, because I did mention also that thankfully then they don't have to do the eating other people's special effects. That's why that's a glib thing to say. From a story perspective, I also try to think about like what was the mentality of the world in 2002 and what had just happened. Was
I got some stuff. Oh yeah, right? 9/11. I have notes specific about that with this movie.
Like that period of time in the world, and I'm not saying that's not the case now. I'm just saying for those of us who were there and were aware enough to remember it, was very tense and very agitated, and a lot of fucking spoiled boy, fucking Limp Bizkit bullshit rage. Sort of nonsense. And I feel like that's why it's presented that way in this movie, is I feel like it's kind of a comment on that in the culture at the time. And so to chalk it up, for me to just call it that's what I'm saying is, for me, when you say it's a zombie movie, what happens in my head is, it's just a zombie movie. And so it's important for me to make that distinction, because I think they're saying something very specific and different. They're finding a new way to interpret those tropes. And I think that's significant here for sure.
Okay, but they're zombies. 9/11. Since you mentioned 9/11, fun fact: that apartment scene where they all get up and meet Frank and Hannah for the first time, and they're celebrating with alcohol. That was shot on 9/11, and they said it was a weird time on set where they're like celebrating, and 9/11's happening. So just had to throw that out there. What?
No, go ahead.
The Walking Dead, and this being that being a ripoff of this, is a huge thing that has been debated / accepted. I'm gonna say I'm a Robert Kirkman fan. I love the Walking Dead comics. I never got into the show. I just could not do it, and now there's way too much of it. The zombies are cool. The kills are cool. I do not need to watch all the other stuff. I already read the comics, and you also kill different people in the TV show, and it's too complicated for me to remember who's alive in which world. But I like the comics. That said, 28 Days Later got released in the United Kingdom in 2002. The Walking Dead comic book, the first one, came out in late 2003. 28 Days Later happened to get an American release, I think like early 2002 or early 2003. And then this comic comes out with Michonne, who is basically Selena. Jim's opening is the exact same as whatever the fuck his name is. Why can't I think of it? All I can think of is Carl, his dad, Rick. But Carl. Like, they are so like, they definitely, he was inspired by a lot of things, and that is very clear. At least the story is very different. But yeah, that opening and just the character of Michonne.
I guess the story in its details is different, but the themes are all the same. Like,
zombies?
The themes of the story, Like, you have the whole thing about, like, military presence gone haywire and how they've fallen back on their military training now as a way of life. And
that
the
does
weird
not
shit
happen in the comic books, and that's all I know.
Well, and then you got these weird fucking... That guy with the baseball bat that is played by the
Negan.
fucking weirdo. Yeah, that dude.
Jeffrey Dad Morgan.
But it's all about just like, oh, great, it's another fucking zombie. This is part of why zombie movies, like this show, is frankly one of my least favorite overall, is because so few of them have actually tried to do anything different. Right, they're all just about like, oh, the real zombies, the real monsters were us all the time.
Yeah,
Just
that's the
fucking-
best part. That's
Well,
my favorite
fucking-
part.
If you're gonna sing the same goddamn song, you better sing it really fucking well, is all I'm
Yeah,
saying. And most
they
people
did.
don't. I'm not saying it about this movie.
Yeah.
I said this was a well done
know.
movie.
I'm just saying,
that's
I fucking
why-
love zombie movies.
I think most of the zombie movies I have seen are just like, oh, like it's just you making the same movie 70,000 other people have made. To me, it's one of the most like there are obviously a lot of vampire movies, but there are some really creative, unique spins on vampire movies that I've seen. I'm not saying I like them all, but they're at least trying to bring something new to the whole kind of... Every zombie movie I've seen is just the same goddamn thing.
Well, that's a lie, because you just said this one's an exception, so you're telling lies over there.
I'm not,
It's
Michelle,
not everyone.
I'm being rhetorically hyperbolic, Michelle. Do you understand rhetorically
Potato.
hyperbolic?
No, my woman brain can't understand a big word.
Why are you bringing your gender into it? I didn't.
Yeah, but I didn't, because it's very funny. Do you know how much John hates when he does something? I go, I'm just a widow woman. I don't understand. It's a thing I do in the house all the time where I'm like, John, I need help. I need help starting my car. I'm just a widow woman. And he hates it, and that's why I do it.
I bet he does. Jesus.
I'm like, I don't want to cook dinner. Oh God, I sound like I'm just being a baby all the time. I swear to God, I do it because it's very funny. I'm capable of things. I don't think the baby talk is cute. It's just very funny.
It's funny to you.
Yeah, I'm hilarious. Okay, so
Make
the
me
people.
feel like an asshole.
Why?
I didn't say nothing about you being a woman.
Yeah, but I am.
Right. But you're like, oh, it's because I'm a woman. I'm dumb. I don't understand these things.
Oh,
I
it
didn't
wasn't
say
a
any
question.
such
It was
thing.
a statement. I was like, I'm a woman. We weren't taught that in school because we weren't allowed to go to school. Okay, anyway. The cast and the people behind this, I haven't even gotten into it. Director Danny Boyle made this, did not realize until today because I've never paid attention. My all-time favorite movie used to be Slumdog Millionaire, which he also directed, and I had never looked at like, who's the director of my favorite movie? It has now been replaced by Everything Everywhere All at Once, of course.
I, for sure, thought I had seen several things that he had done, and I brought up his filmography, and the only other thing he's done that I've seen is Trainspotting, and I've seen Trainspotting a shit pile of times, because that is a fucking fantastic movie. Oh my God.
Ewan McGregor
But,
was supposed to star in this, but then apparently he had a falling out with Danny Boyle, so it did not happen. Other movies that Danny Boyle has done, 127... Okay, yes, hello.
Come to think of it, Danny Boyle, like fucking Ewan McGregor's dick was in... Danny Boyle apparently likes to have dicks in his movies.
I'm so glad that you interrupted me again just to tell me more about dicks. That makes me delighted that the dick comment was so important. Anyway, Danny Boyle, other movies he's done that I like, 127 Hours, Trainspotting, Sunshine, and Fuck You, I Will Defend the Beach Until I Die. It's a great movie. Written by Alex Garland, who apparently has not like done much shit. That is such a name that like has done a lot of recent things, but not a lot of things like over the years. Yes,
Well,
Steve.
he hasn't directed a lot of things.
I'm talking about written. No, he has not
he's
written.
He's got like 25 writing credits on IMDb.
That's not many.
Okay, How many movies have you written, Michelle?
73.
25 movies is a pretty healthy library of writing work, Michelle.
I am saying, okay, let me rephrase. Because of how many things he has done recently, including Annihilation, Civil War, Men, those are 3 like pretty recent movies. So I thought he had just been like making a movie, at least one every year, because now his name is really out there, like in my mind. So it's just I didn't realize he's only had like a reasonable number of movies. Also, he wrote The Beach book. The book that The Beach, the movie that he also wrote. I did not know there was even a book. So big book nerd Bertha, gotta go read that. The rest of the cast, Cillian Murphy being a killer. He was in Oppenheimer. You remember that movie, right? And Inception and Batman. He's Scarecrow in the Batman franchise. It's real good. Naomi Harris, also one of those that I am surprised to learn did not do a ton of things. I did just watch Venom: Let There Be Carnage for the first time. And
God,
she's
why'd
in
you do that to yourself?
Because Venom is hilarious.
Fair
Venom
enough. I do like Tom
Venom
Hardy.
is so fucking funny. And she was also in Moonlight. But I was like, oh man, Naomi Harris was in everything when I was a kid. And then I'm looking at her filmography today to prepare for this. And she's like, from when I was younger, the only things she's in are 28 Days Later, and she voices one of the major characters of Fable 3. And apparently that was enough of my life that I was like, Naomi Harris is everywhere, because my life was only 28 Days Later and the Fable series. And I do love hearing her in Fable 3. It makes me happy every time. Brendan Gleeson, my favorite role that he's done is the Banshees of Inisherin. I fucking love him in that. Edge of Tomorrow, The Village. He was Mad-Eye Moody in the Harry Potter series. Megan Burns, the person who plays Hannah, had a music career after this, but hasn't acted in anything else except for a 2018 short called Intwooters. I-N-2, the number 2, R-U-D-E-R-S, which saying out loud sounds like Intwooters. And then some other movie called Liam before this movie. And then, like, I cannot figure out what the hell she's up to right now. She's, like, none of my Google resulted in anything, and I didn't dig that deeply. But I'm like, what's she doing? Where are you up to? Are you an accountant? I'm curious. So that's the cast. The soundtrack to this movie, yes.
Before we move on to the soundtrack, the reason you saw me do that, I just figured out where I know Naomi Harris from. I was looking through her IMDb. She was Tia Dalma in the second and third Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yes, she was.
She's, if I remember correctly, she's the one who gives Jack Sparrow the information about the key, and then he comes out and he shows everybody the thing, and he's like, do you see what this is? And they're like, a key? And he's like, no, much more better than a key. It is a drawing of a key. And that has stuck with me since the day I heard it as the most ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, she was Tia Dalma.
Pirates of the Caribbean is one of those series that I think I've watched. Yeah, that one. I think I've watched it gone through the whole thing like 3 or 4 times, and I still do not remember anything that happens in those movies. I have rewatched them because I've been like, I'm pretty sure I've never seen this, and then I get to the third movie and I go, oh, I've seen this. I actually think I might have seen one of the movies in the theater, and I still do not remember. Like, I have this black hole where pirates go in and only darkness comes out.
I saw all 3 of them in the theater. I don't remember a fucking. Here's what I remember: Johnny Depp fucks off. Yeah, why is the rum gone? Johnny Depp fucks off for a while, and there's a pirate with a Cthulhu head. That's all I remember.
Yeah, and that Davy Jones. Davy Jones. Voiced by Bill Nighy, if I remember, or played by Bill Nighy. Not the science guy, Bill Nighy, the actor. I did have to actually clarify that with John the other day, because I was like, oh, Bill Nighy's in this movie. He's like, that's not Bill Nye. And I'm like, no, Nighy. Okay, soundtrack. I just love the music in general, but In the House, in a Heartbeat, the main song from this movie gives me goosebumps. It is one of those movies or one of those songs that immediately puts me on edge.
What's it called?
In the House in a Heartbeat.
Okay.
That is the one that they use throughout with like the really big shit happening. And In the House in a Heartbeat is like probably one of my favorite songs of all time. It makes me uncomfortable to the point where I thought it would be funny to put it on my shower playlist. The shower playlist is stuff that I can sing while in the shower. There's a lot of like Disney songs from my youth and pop shit that I refuse to admit to anybody that I listen to. And when you go from Space Jam and rocking the fuck out in your shower to In the House in a Heartbeat, it is very upsetting. And I just made myself listen to it and go along with the prank that I had played on myself, but I was very upset about it. That song gets me like, ooh, it gets under my skin, and I love it.
Yep.
I love it so much.
I just pulled it up here on the YouTubes because I wanted to verify, and that is the one that I fucking loved. It is it's In the House Without a Heartbeat, by the way. But
I thought it was In the House in a Heartbeat.
Well, okay, so the video I'm looking at says on the title of the video, it says In the House in a Heartbeat, but then on the screen, like in the video that it's showing, it's a still picture, but that says In the House Without a Heartbeat. Weird. You're probably right.
But I've also seen it In the House in a Heartbeat and also In the House in the Heartbeat, in a house. I think just people don't know what the fuck it's called because there's no lyrics.
It's really fucking moody and awesome, though.
I love it.
I like how it builds and it goes through so many different moods. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you brought it up because I almost forgot to mention it.
One of my favorite things about this. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not the kind of music you typically get in a movie like this. And I thought that alone made that really effective.
Yeah, that is, like, that song alone would boost this movie if it wasn't already a 5. Like, they use it so well. Some of the stuff about how they got into the creation of 28 Days Later, just a tiny bit of history of it. Alex Garland had actually looked up just tons of infectious diseases and civil unrest and what happens. One of the quotes, I went back and rewatched the special features on the DVD I have, and I'm mad at myself because I should have rewatched the movie with commentary over it, and I didn't even think to do that until like right when we started recording. But I went back and watched my special features, and this movie came out in 2002 in the UK, and they're interviewing all the actors, and they're like, well, yeah, there will be a major pandemic at some stage. It's not a matter of if, but when. And pandemics, they are just awful. Just talking about how a pandemic can wipe society out. And I'm like, oh no. But when they were doing all this research, they based the disease on Ebola, which I love. That's why it's transmitted through the blood. They bleed, they have the red eyes. And I think there's like in a comic or something that was associated with this, it did confirm that when they were trying to put the rage virus into the monkeys, they were using the Ebola virus as a carrier. And I love that. Yes.
Does Ebola create zombies?
I'm full of your Ebola shit. In order to get all of these like super isolated shots of London, they had to be very tricky about it. That big highway shot with the windmills in the back, I did not realize that was a real scene, by the way, because it looked crazy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's a real scene.
No, those windmills are definitely digitally added.
That's what I thought, but then they said no. It's the way it's shot. It looks goofy.
What?
That's one of the most, like the busiest highways in the UK.
That was the first moment in the movie where I was like, oh, okay, so they're going to do some background editing in this. And you're telling me that was not edited.
That's what they say, but I don't believe them.
That's wild. I don't.
Because it looks crazy.
Yeah. Like it looks, by today's standards, like frankly, looks bad.
Yeah. But they claim it's just the angle. So, and I wasn't
it's
there.
also-
It looks crazy.
Well, and the other thing about it is, if they do openly admit that they did digital backgrounding in a lot of the rest of the movie, why deny you did it there, right? That's definitely a thing that comes to mind. So, fuck, that's... Because that is the first moment where I was like, oh, that's definitely feeling
looks
its age right
wild.
now. Definitely feeling its age.
Yeah.
Guess not.
The thing that sells me is that when they immediately switch from that view to a different view of the highway, like the windmills are now in the foreground. So I'm like, maybe that's true, but it's always one of those that's look crazy. But that highway is one of the busiest highways. And in order to get this isolated shot and essentially shut down the highway, what they had to do was from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on a Saturday, police were way up ahead and police were way in back, and they slowed traffic down so that they could get that little bit of footage. And when that 2-hour block was done, they had a full minute of usable footage that they could put in the film. Similarly, when he's wandering around downtown London, they would like kind of close off those areas for starting at 4 a.m. for a single hour every day until they had what they needed, and they just had to go around and do that.
One thing I noticed in those moments, if it just popped into my mind, if you look really closely in a lot of the scenes where he's walking down a street, it's just a quick shot and there's
Yeah.
just like trash and everything everywhere. You'll notice the trash is only strewn about on the sidewalks. It's not on the streets, so that they can let the traffic go and worry about cleaning up the sidewalks. But I noticed that. I was like, oh, they did not have a lot of time.
No, they could not just like, that's why those shots are so good though, because it's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Oh, it's so effective. It's really from that standpoint as a production, especially that portion is just a really, like I said, that idea of just suddenly going black and then coming conscious and everything is gone.
Yeah.
I
Comas are one of my
would-
biggest fears.
I
Ugh.
would fucking melt down. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing I never would have even thought of on my own if I hadn't seen a goddamn movie like this.
I love that horror movies inspire fear. Who would have thought? Two other quick things. The symbol for the movie is the same symbol for a bloodborne biohazard. So that's deliberate. And then the
Also
alternate
the
endings.
symbol used by the hardcore band Biohazard.
Did they have pop music? Were they the ones on tour with Taylor Swift?
No.
Oh, okay. Bummer. Alternate endings. This is my last big thing. There were several. Basically just different variations that were shot, and then they were trying to figure out who liked which one, and they went with the one that we get where all three of them live. The one that I think I like the least is the one that they originally were going to do, which was Hannah and Selena go to a hospital and they show them in trying to save Jim. So those quick cuts that we see before he wakes up in the house, that was actually a much longer sequence where they showed them trying to save him and they don't. And then they just leave the hospital. And everybody said it was very unsatisfying and way too open-ended and very depressing. So they didn't go with that. There's a different alternate ending where Jim dies, but then we get essentially the exact same thing happening in the house at the end, but with only shots of Selena and Hannah. So it's those two survived. And so it's a little bit more optimistic. But after seeing all of that, like, after we lost Frank, we deserve to keep the rest, you know?
This coming from the lady who, when we were talking about Anna and the Apocalypse, and I was like, oh, they're going to take her best friend and her dad, everything she's got left, and you were like, yeah, it's a dark story. And now you're going to be the one who's like, oh, we lost Frank. Maybe that's enough.
I mean, when he's played by Brendan Gleeson, yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Have
That's
you seen
fair.
The Banshees of Inisherin?
I have.
The part with the donkey, which is like 90% of the movie. I fucking love that movie.
I do love
movie.
that movie, but Barry Keoghan steals it in about 30 seconds.
And I love that scene. That
Oh
is very
God,
upsetting to you.
it's crushing, just crushing. It's beautiful. It's one of the most incredible things, but it's just soul crushing. It's incredible. Oh God. Yeah. So
I got nothing
overall. Yeah, I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was really solid. There was another thing I was gonna say here, but I decided to forget what it was, I guess. So, you know, how things go. Maybe it'll come back to me. I doubt it, but, you know.
Now,
Things
at
happen
some
sometimes.
point, like 10 years from now, well, actually, maybe because there's another movie 28 weeks later.
It did come back to me. You were talking about alternate endings.
Yes.
Here's what I honestly thought was going to happen and didn't, or could have happened, because there's that moment early, not early in the movie, but before, you know, before the ending, there's that moment when they're in the military complex. And I don't remember who it is, but somebody is talking about how, like, the outside world knows it's happening and they're just letting it happen because they're hoping that because it's, like, here on this island that it'll just stay here. They're basically quarantining us here. And then you see that plane fly over with the, you know, which tells him, oh, there are other people out there and you know, survivors somewhere. I was really not that I thought it was going to happen, but I thought it was a real possibility as soon as I saw that fighter jet come flying by, that as soon as he saw the help sign, that he was just going to shoot a bunch of fucking armaments down on him and blast him out of the, you know, just fucking kill him. Confirming that idea that, yeah, we can't let anybody off this island. It's just everything on the island has to die. I thought that was a way it might be coming. When I saw that airplane, I thought, oh shit, are they just gonna military style fucking kill these people? But they didn't, you know.
There's nothing I can say in response because I have knowledge from 28 weeks later.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably one that I'll never watch.
But then the third movie is coming out this year. Otherwise, I would understand. But you know, you're not going to want to be left out of, like, what's happened 28 years later. You know you're going to want to see it. And it's got Robert Carlyle and Rose Byrne.
Is Cillian Murphy in it?
Jeremy Renner is, but no Cillian Murphy in 28 weeks later. And it's got Imogen Poots. I fucking love Imogen Poots. And Idris Elba. Poots.
Poots.
I really wish that I had gone back and watched this with the commentary, because I am convinced that there is, like...
Sorry, I can't stop.
Oh my God. I am convinced that there is an alternate second half of this movie that they were going to go with, where they get there and there is no army and they continue on. And I have this, like, very vivid memory of how they were like, oh yeah, we might have gone this direction and we didn't. I can't find a single bit of evidence that this exists, but it is such a thing that I thought you were going to lean forward and say Poots again. But it is such a thing that I am convinced is true, but cannot find any evidence of. And I don't know where it came from.
It's like your own personal Mandela effect.
It is, but I also think I'm going to watch the commentary and have it confirmed, because I am not creative enough to think of the story that I have in my head. There's no way I came up with this.
So you're thinking it's just something they may have said on the commentary that you've forgotten about.
Exactly. Not like they shot it. It's similar to how, like, Monsters, Inc., I know what that alternate story would have been. They had a completely different plan for that movie, and they had that all storyboarded, not shot, but storyboarded, and all of that is on the special features of the DVD, and it's really cool. The alternate version of 28 Days Later, where it changes at the halfway mark, wasn't even storyboarded. I can't figure out if it's, like, an early script that I read and got somewhere, a book about this movie. I have to track it down, and I haven't yet. If you're out there and you know what I'm talking about and you're like, yeah, it's definitely on the commentary, go waste an hour and a half, please just let me know because it's driving me fucking crazy.
Right on. I just realized we've been talking about this movie for an hour and 15 minutes.
I honestly expected it to be a 2-hour movie or a 2-hour episode because of how much I have to say about this. I love this movie.
I just honestly, when I flipped over to check it, I was surprised because it doesn't feel like it's been that long. It's been a nice little chat. I don't have anything else to say about the movie, though. Do you, Michelle?
No, I got through all of my major notes. I have too much knowledge about this movie, and I didn't realize until I was preparing, like, just knowing, like, oh, that scene's the CGI rain, and it was a big deal in 2002. And like I said, my high school sweetheart introduced me to this, so there was a lot of like us analyzing this together and like coming back with like info that we saw.
Aww.
Yeah, and so like knowing which scenes were like CGI rain versus not, I just remember him being so excited to point them out to me. And now I'm hyper aware when I watch it of like, that one's CGI, that one's not, that's real water, that's CGI. And like in 2002, it was a really big deal. And I just, I have so much weird knowledge about this movie and I fucking love it. It's arguably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Nostalgia's a hell of a drug.
Yep. A delicious drug. Shoot
hey
that
guys,
shit.
we just today, at least today as we record this, announced the first 3 short film selections that we were going to announce for Darkest Day of Horror Film Festival coming up in June 2025. Make sure you check out Darkest Day of Horror Film Festival. It's DDH Film Fest on both Instagram and Facebook. We also have a website, ddhff.com. Tickets go on sale February 1st. I'm stoked. We got more announcements coming. We're going to do 5 features, and I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 shorts. Maybe 20 shorts. I'm looking forward to it, Michelle. It's going to be dope.
It is. All I'm thinking about is CGI rain.
CGI. All those things will be lost in time, like tears in CGI rain.
A pandemic will happen at some point in our lifetime, and it's not a matter of if, but when. All of that footage at the very beginning of the movie with like the protests and stuff, all of that was real footage, but he drew the line and said that there was no way he was going to show actual corpses or kids or anything. So like, I love how like this movie is about zombies and brutal, but like it tries to be tasteful about it. Like, that Selena thing, like it happens off camera, but it's brutal.
Yeah, there are also a couple of moments where it's like uniquely gory, and I felt like it's like, oh, they must have just randomly somehow knew a guy who had like. There's that monkey at the beginning who's been completely like flayed open on the top half. I'm sorry if animal stuff is a problem for you.
It doesn't look
realistic. I don't mean to irritate that, but like, I mean, it looks fucking horrifying whether or not it looks realistic. And so
I know. I'm just saying if somebody's like, oh, I can't watch this because I'm one of those people.
Like,
but just
I
so you
saw
know,
that,
it's quick. You're fine.
I saw that and I was like, oh, this movie's gonna be something. And then I was just like,
yep.
that's a weird random place to put some of your effects budget. Is we're gonna get ourselves a flayed monkey.
Talking about weird random stuff or places to put stuff, the naked lady running out of the woods to the army, like just titty slapping.
It's not even. It's like a half a second shot. Yep. It's like just random. If you blink, you'll miss it.
They're like, you guys, we cannot just have a single dick in this movie. We need some tatas or they're gonna riot.
We need to have tits, but it can't be gratuitous.
Exactly.
So we'll do blink.
This is a kids movie, damn
it.
Those are my favorite kind of tits. Blink and you'll miss them.
I will say this, another random thought as we fucking careen wildly with no sense of direction towards the inevitable end. That was depressing. Cillian Murphy looks like he gained back a lot of weight real quick in this movie. Like, he is fucking gaunt when he comes out of that hospital, like scary gaunt. And it must be, I'm guessing it's a thing where he did like an MMA competitive wrestling like water weight drop to get himself nice and for about 3 or 4 days of shooting that stuff, and then immediately got all his fluids back. But I was just like, man, he looked a lot healthier real quick.
I mean, he's just living on Twinkies and Maltesers, so that'll beef you up real quick.
Speaking of which, I do think this movie should give people a newfound, healthier, no pun intended, respect for preservative-laden junk food. If it wasn't for preservative-laden junk food, these people never would have fucking survived. So,
those apples irradiated.
Lay off. The eggs could have killed these people. Are you kidding? They got them bad eggs and that dude. I thought the salt would cover it up. Dude, have you ever fucking smelled a rotten egg? There's no salt in the world that will cover up a fucking rotten egg. Oh my God.
That hospital at the very beginning is an actual functioning hospital that wasn't open on the weekends. So they would go in and shoot Cillian Murphy's scenes there. Also, Cillian Murphy demanded a closed set when he was fully nude, and I respect that.
Hang on. Mm-hmm. Did you say it was a functioning hospital that's closed on the weekends?
So yes, because that is exactly what they said. I think it's a UK thing where we might consider that a clinic because our clinics are closed on the weekends.
Fuck, did they just like, oh, sorry, Jim, the cancer patient.
No emergencies.
It's fucking Friday. Get the fuck out. Come back on Monday.
Yeah. But it has hospital beds, and that's why I'm confused.
Would be hilarious, by the way. Sorry, I mean, we're only open for cancer treatment. You're only getting kidney dialysis Monday through Friday, Dave. You can fucking fend for yourself on Saturdays and Sundays. I don't know what you want from me.
Since they have full hospital rooms in there, I was thinking maybe it's same-day surgeries and stuff, or like overnight and it's a quick thing. Either way, they said it. I did not look into it. I did also have a moment of like, you shut down the ER and nobody can get hurt till Monday, but I know that's not the case. But I was just like, what's this? But I'm like, it's from 2002. I'm not going to find an answer to this. I will not trouble my mind.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Do you have much else to say?
This movie rocks, and I'm so happy that you gave it a 4 because I truly expected you to give it a 1 or a 2. I thought you were gonna be this is garbage. There's no nostalgia factor. I don't like it.
This is fucking Cillian Murphy and Brendan Gleeson. How bad could it possibly be?
Oh, I bet it could be real bad in the wrong hands of some people.
I don't know. I feel like those two fellas could do a pretty good job polishing a turd.
Oh, I love Cillian Murphy.
He's
even hot in this. I don't understand. How does he do it? Okay.
Well, I mean, genetics is how anybody does it, really.
He's just such a handsome man. Oppenheimer. I have no idea what the fuck happened in that movie, but I liked watching it.
I also,
that's such a stupid statement.
Speaking of Cillian Murphy, have you seen these like fucking TikToks and reels going around where the whole gist of them is clips of Cillian Murphy just not giving a fuck about like red carpet events and stupid questions from people and just like not being able to not roll, like just clips of him like in junkets, people ask a question and he just gets these looks of just fucking exasperation on his face. It's fucking glorious. That dude fucking hates everything about his job except actually doing the job, and I love that he can't even bring himself to fake it. I fucking love it.
Well, you made me really sad because yes, I have seen a lot of those TikToks, and the TikTok ban is moving forward today, and I am definitely having some feelings about it, so now I'm just sad. I went through okay, I'm going to admit something on the podcast that I'm truthfully very ashamed of, but fuck it. This is what I'm here for. And if they made it an hour and 23 minutes, here's what you get to know.
Yes.
I had 1,200 things favorited on my TikTok because I've had it for like 3 years. And so if I find a video I like, I favorite it. And then when I'm sad, I can just go watch it. And it's usually cute animals or really funny shit. Those are the two things, just things that make me happy. And I went, well, I can't lose this. And I spent 2 hours after work today scrolling my favorites and saving each video. So I saved all 1,200 of my TikTok favorites so that if the platform goes down entirely, which I'm fighting it, I'm going to get NordVPN. Fuck them. I can get around that. But I didn't want to lose access to my videos that make me so happy.
How do you save them?
If you hit share and the video allows for it, you can save. I went back and saved the stuff from the We Watch Shutter page.
You can just like download them?
Yep. So if you've got some, go hoard them.
I guess I figured, no, I've never been much of a TikToker, but I guess I figured it would be more like fucking Instagram where like you can't even fucking right click open this image in a new tab.
That's why I hate Instagram, because I can't. We don't have to get into it, but yes,
you know what
I'm very mad.
You can absolutely do a high-res screen grab and just fucking crop it down.
Yeah, but that's such an extra step. Just give me a button, save, done.
I mean, I wish, yeah, but sometimes that's not always possible, Michelle.
I'm just saying, like, Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg, he making me real angry for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, well, fuck Mark Zuckerberg. And you know how much it just fucking irritates me, Michelle, that the continued, not just promotion, but connection with the friends that we've made through the podcast and getting to do a lot of the things that we do that are super rad is unfortunately inextricably linked to Meta through Facebook and Instagram. I fucking hate that. I just wanted to say that.
Sony Pictures today posted a video on their TikTok of the Social Network where Andrew Garfield is pissed and walking through the office yelling, "Mark, Mark," and like shoves Jesse Eisenberg's laptop onto the ground. And Sony Pictures, their official account, posted that. And it was something like how we're all feeling about Mark Zuckerberg today or something. And I was like, oh shit, Sony Pictures came out swinging.
How much do you think the situation with TikTok getting shut down is very much probably about Zuckerberg wanted to buy them and they wouldn't
100%. 100%. There's 100%. That's like just a thing we know. Because that's why everybody was able to come together on a common issue and get a thing passed. You know, we can't get anything else accomplished in the government. But yeah, get rid of the social media app because God forbid China has your data. We want that all to go to Mark individually. Let him have it because he definitely can be trusted with that. He's definitely not selling your data and you're definitely not getting targeted ads because he's able to figure out as a human being.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I get it that more data is always useful, but, like, everybody likes to talk about, like, look, guys, the fucking game was up on fucking data sharing before the general public even knew what was going on, right? We had already dumped so much data out into the world in places where just anybody with a rudimentary understanding of how to get it can get it. Like it's wild. Anyway, we could get into that for hours and hours and hours, and I don't want to do
Michelle
that.
in review will get into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, I'm sure.
I'm pretty grumpy at the government today.
Time. All right, Michelle, we've asked a lot of these people. We're pushing 90, should we call it?
Yes, please.
All right, excellent. Say Rage Virus, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.